I walked into the courthouse wearing the same navy blue suit I had worn to my law school graduation. The sleeves were slightly too short now, the fabric had faded over the years, and one button had been replaced after it cracked during a winter interview. In my left hand, I carried 3 thick folders. That was all I owned that looked expensive. Across the courtroom, my parents and my older brother looked at me with open embarrassment. My mother rolled her eyes the moment she saw me, leaned toward my father, and whispered loudly enough for me to hear, "She still hasn't learned how to dress like someone who has money." My brother Jason laughed. "Good. The judge will see exactly why she can't be trusted with $1 million. They believed they had already won before the hearing had even started. Their attorney, dressed in a tailored Italian suit, confidently arranged his papers while smiling at them. They had spent months preparing one goal, convincing the court that I was incapable of managing the $1.2 million trust my late grandmother had left me. If they succeeded, they would become my legal conservators, controlling every dollar I owned. They thought they knew everything about me. They were wrong. When my grandmother Eleanor Carter died 18 months earlier, the entire family expected her fortune to be divided equally. Instead, her will shocked everyone. She left her lake house to charity, donated a large portion of her estate to hospitals, and placed $1.2 million into a trust with my name on it. The money wasn't simply a gift. It was her belief in me. Along with the trust came a handwritten letter that simply said, "Emily, if you're reading this, then I was right about people. Trust actions, never words." At the time, I didn't fully understand what she meant. I would soon find out. Growing up, I was always treated differently from my brother. Jason was the golden child. Every mistake he made was forgiven before he apologized. Every success of mine was EXP. Laned away as luck. When Jason dropped out of college twice, my parents blamed the professors. When I earned scholarships and worked nights at a grocery store to pay for books, they called me obsessed. When Jason borrowed thousands of dollars from them to start businesses that failed, they called him ambitious. When I refused financial help because I wanted to stand on my own feet, they called me stubborn. Grandma was the only person who saw the truth. Every Sunday, I visited her little white house outside Boston. We drank tea on her porch while she asked about my dreams. She never interrupted. She listened. When she became sick with cancer, I drove her to every appointment, cooked her meals, cleaned her home, and stayed beside her during chemotherapy. My parents visited occasionally. Jason almost never came. Yet at family dinners, they spoke as though they were her greatest supporters. After the funeral, their behavior changed overnight. At first, they pretended to celebrate my inheritance. Then the questions began. How much money is in the account? Who's managing the trust? Have you thought about letting Jason invest it? When I politely declined, their smiles disappeared. Within weeks, I received phone calls from financial advisors I had never contacted, all recommending people connected to my brother. Then banks began asking unusual questions. Friends mentioned that my family had been telling everyone I was emotionally unstable after Grandma's death. I dismissed it as gossip until a sheriff knocked on my apartment door and handed me legal papers. My own parents had filed a petition asking the court to declare me financially incompetent. According to them, I suffered from poor judgment, impulsive spending, emotional instability, and an inability to understand complex financial decisions. They claimed they loved me too much to watch me destroy my future and wanted to manage my trust for my own protection. I laughed when I first read it. Then I cried. Not because I was afraid of losing the money, but because I realized they had planned this together. The evidence they submitted was almost insulting. They included photographs of my old Honda with over 200,000 miles on it. They showed pictures of my small apartment instead of buying a luxury home. They pointed out that I still bought clothes during seasonal sales. According to them, living modestly despite having money proved I lacked financial confidence. Every responsible decision I had made was twisted into evidence that I couldn't handle wealth. What they didn't know was that while they spent months building a case against me, I had been building something much more powerful. For years, I had quietly attended law school at night while working during the day. I never announced my graduation. I never posted photos online. I never told extended family that I had passed T. Bar examination on my very first attempt. The only person who knew was Grandma. Before she died, she held my hand and smiled. One day, she whispered, "Don't tell them who you are. Let them discover it when it matters most." The bailiff called the courtroom to order. Their attorney stood first. He spoke confidently for nearly 40 minutes, describing me as irresponsible, emotionally vulnerable, and incapable of protecting such a large inheritance. He displayed photographs of my apartment on a projector. He showed receipts proving I bought used furniture. He pointed to my 15-year-old car as though it were evidence of mental illness. Then my mother took the witness stand. She looked directly at the judge with fake tears in her eyes. "My daughter has always struggled with money," she said softly. "We're only trying to protect her from making terrible mistakes." Jason testified next. "I've always handled investments for the family. Emily gets overwhelmed by financial decisions. She needs guidance." The judge nodded politely while taking notes. Finally, he looked toward me. "Ms. Carter, do you have legal counsel present today?" The courtroom became completely silent. Jason smiled. My mother folded her arms confidently. Their attorney leaned back in his chair. I stood up slowly, adjusted the sleeves of my old suit, and looked directly at the judge. "Yes, Your Honor. Would your attorney please identify themselves?" I smiled. "I am my attorney." The room froze. Their lawyer frowned. "I'm a licensed attorney in this state," I continued calmly. "I passed the bar examination 18 months ago. Here is my license." The clerk handed the documents to the judge. Jason's face lost all color. My mother's mouth fell open. My father whispered one word. "What?" The judge examined my credentials carefully before nodding. "Very well, Ms. Carter. You may proceed." I walked toward the center of the courtroom carrying the 3 folders that my family had laughed at only an hour earlier. I placed the first folder on the evidence table. "Your Honor, this folder contains every bank statement, tax return, investment account, retirement contribution, insurance policy, mortgage payment, utility bill, and credit report covering the last 10 years." The judge opened it. Every document was organized with color-coded tabs. No late payments. No unpaid debt. No overdrafts. A credit score above 820. Growing savings. Responsible investments. The courtroom grew quiet. Then I opened the second folder. This folder contains emails obtained during discovery. Their attorney looked confused. He hadn't reviewed them carefully. I projected the first email onto the courtroom screen. It was from Jason. "Once we get conservatorship, we can move the trust into an account we control." The second email was from my mother. "Emily has no idea how these things work. We'll pay ourselves management fees and she'll never question it." The third email came from my father. "After a few years, most of the money can be transferred through investment expenses." Someone in the gallery gasped. Their attorney slowly removed his glasses. My mother's hands began shaking uncontrollably. Jason stared at the floor. I then placed the third folder before the judge. This folder contains handwritten letters from my grandmother. The judge carefully unfolded the final letter. In it, Grandma had written, "If my family ever tries to control Emily's inheritance instead of supporting her independence, understand this was my greatest fear. Emily is the only person who visited me without expecting anything in return. She earned every dollar of my trust long before I signed this will." The judge looked up. His expression had completely changed. I spent the next hour questioning my own family. Jason admitted he had declared bankruptcy twice. He admitted he owed hundreds of thousands in failed business loans. My mother admitted withdrawing money from Grandma's account before probate without permission. My father admitted he had never reviewed my actual financial records before signing the conservatorship petition. One by one, every lie collapsed under simple questions supported by undeniable evidence. When closing arguments ended, the courtroom remained silent. The judge folded his hands. This court finds absolutely no evidence that Ms. Emily Carter is incapable of managing her financial affairs. On the contrary, the evidence demonstrates extraordinary financial discipline and professional competence. He turned toward my parents. However, the evidence strongly suggests this petition was filed for personal financial gain rather than concern for your daughter. He dismissed the conservatorship immediately. Then he ordered my parents and brother to reimburse every dollar of my legal expenses and referred the matter for further investigation into possible fraud. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us after hearing about the unusual hearing. Jason rushed to his car without answering a single question. My father avoided every camera. My mother approached me with tears in her eyes. We were only trying to help. I looked at her for several seconds before answering. No. You were trying to own what Grandma wanted me to protect. She lowered her head. I walked away without another word. 6 months later, I established the Eleanor Carter Foundation, providing scholarships to first-generation law students who couldn't afford tuition. I restored Grandma's old house exactly as she had left it, complete with the rocking chair where we used to drink tea every Sunday evening. People often ask me how I stayed calm while my own family tried to take everything from me. The answer is simple. I wasn't carrying 3 folders into that courtroom. I was carrying years of truth, discipline, patience, and the final promise I made to the one person who never doubted me. And in the end, those 3 folders were worth far more than $1.2 million. They proved that integrity, when documented with the truth, is the strongest case anyone can ever bring into a courtroom.